Now, before we move forward to our last session for the evening, we have a short video from our presenting sponsor, The Trade Desk.
At the Trade Desk, we connect the channels where your customers are and improve ROI with smarter cross-channel measurement. Every media channel that matters, one advertising platform. The Trade Desk. At the Trade Desk.
And now we have come to our final session for the evening, the context code. Winning attention in a multi-platform programmatic era. In today's cross-device, multi-platform world, cutting through the noise requires more than just presence. It requires precision. This discussion will dive into how contextual intelligence helps brands stay relevant through dynamic storytelling that aligns with user mindset, environment, and moment. Please welcome our panelists. First up, we have Udita Shroff, Regional Head of Marketing, South Asia, Middle East and Africa, Cathay Pacific. Subrata Basu, Vice President Marketing, Nitco Tiles. Samir Karpe, Country Manager, DoubleVerify. And Amruta Pawar, GM, Digital Marketing and Marketing Strategy, Hafele. Give it up for our last session for the evening, everyone. And this conversation will be moderated by Clyde Nunes, Senior Director, Business Development, The Trade Desk.
Hello, mic test. Thank you, everyone, and thank you all present here. I think we're the last panel keeping everyone from their drinks today, and definitely a few tough acts to follow. But I promise that this is going to be a very interesting session. We will keep it lively. We will keep it as fun as possible. And let's begin with the introductions, actually, and let's make it a bit interesting. I want you to name yourself as well as talk about or name your favorite media channel. Samir, let's begin with you.
When you say channel, you're looking at content-wise or?
No, like DOH or...
Right, okay. My name is Samir and I'm the country manager with DoubleVerify. Favorite channel would be CTV for me. That's where I spend my time.
Hello everyone, I'm Amruta Pawar. I lead digital marketing and marketing strategy at Hafele, India. And yeah, I think CTV is something that even is currently my favorite channel, and also for the sessions earlier, which I've been through. So I've been on that too.
Hi, my name is Subrata. I handle the marketing for Nitco and the brand and design. The favorite channel for me is different. It's like New York Times.
Hi, I'm Udita. I'm heading marketing for Cathay in the region. I think for me, the favorite channel is a little traditional outdoor. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I'm Clyde, everyone, and my favorite channel from the media front has to be audio. It's because I'm stuck in traffic all the time, and that's the only one that I actually love listening to. So truly an omni-channel days with us here, and thank you so much for joining us. I actually wanted to start, if you don't mind, the first question goes to the audience. I just wanted to understand, let's just take today, the hours that have passed from the time that you've woken up. How many of us today have switched on their music app and listened to music? Quite a few music listeners. How many of us have ordered or will order from quick commerce today? Pretty good. How many of us have passed or will pass across a digital out-of-home screen? Pretty much everyone. And last but not least, we have a lot of CTV fans here. How many of us will go home or on the way home, and hopefully not now, switch on their CTVs or go to an OTT platform? Perfect. So all of us are living in the omni-channel world. So I'm glad that we're going to add some value to everyone's life. And let's begin the session today. And I think the first question is for Udita and Samir. How much is too much? Right? We are facing a problem of plenty. We're seeing channels emerge every day. We're seeing too many channels. How do you all manage marketing through these various channels and make meaning of it all?
Yeah. So I agree. I think there is a lot happening, lot of channels. But I think it kind of goes back to consumption. And like you rightly asked, right, everybody is actually consuming media of those channels. So I think the media channels typically exist because there is as much consumption, which is of course leading to marketers like us wanting to maximize that inventory, to talk to all the consumers, talk to all the people consuming that content. So on an average, I think people are watching like 6,000, 10,000 ads a day. The attention span is of course very limited, which is time and again spoken about. So there is a plethora of overexposure. I will not deny that. I will take that for sure. But how do you really manage that? I think that's when the programmatic targeting kind of comes into the picture. I think cut to 6-7 years back when I think programmatic was still at a nascent stage and still picking up. I think we didn't have the option of precision targeting, and now we do. Now we have that layer between the brand and the audience to really make sure that our communication is more specific, more targeted, and I think oriented towards the right medium and the right mindset. I think as a brand, we want to use various channels, but I think programmatic gives us a platform to really be able to talk to the brands, to talk to the consumers in a more targeted manner and using more dynamic content. So a lot of programmatic platforms that we have been using recently, I think have given us an option to make ourselves a little more creative. So I think automatically, while there are plethora of options, we tend to go for those particular mediums as the first choice as a brand. The second bit is mapping our audience's mindset. What is it that they are thinking at that point in time? And I think you started with audio being your favorite. While I didn't choose it to be my favorite medium, it's something that we've actually experimented recently with like a Spotify. And it's worked well for us where, I'm not just targeting my audience on the basis of age or gender, but it's beyond that. It's about their mood, given that we are an aviation travel category brand. How is my target audience feeling on a weekend? Are they feeling in the whole loungy wanderlust mood? Or is it that they're looking at a robust strategic routine with a business travel kind of outlook? So how I can speak to them basis on their mindset. So while there is a problem of plenty, I think mediums which are able to give me that option to go with precision targeting is a natural, obvious choice.
Thank you so much. Subrata, please.
I'll probably start with the creative narrative. So if you have a great creative narrative which can break the ice, the media probably will aid that. So your choice of the media could be relevant to the creative narrative. Because your creative narrative is not strong enough, the media is not going to help you go there. Because their media is diced and sliced, and the customers diced and sliced so many times today. Compared to the old days where Rama and Mahabharata, everybody, you could reach, or to have an IPL, everybody's watching a match. To get to that level of accessibility of an audience as a reach, it's not possible today. And only thing you can get there if your creative narrative is very strong and you're actually addressing a customer's pain point or something very differently. I love what Colgate Palmolive talked about, how they're taking the picture of the teeth and actually showcasing the customer a value. So your value proposition, I think if that's met, the media can build it on. So what media and data probably to me is probably looking at from the past. Data cannot help you go forward. Data can help you get a better understanding of a target audience to build a better creative narrative. So that's how I look at data.
That's a good way to look at it. The means to an end on the other side. Yes. Amruta, please.
So these days I'm trying, to take one day like completely off of all the platforms just to see what's that itch, which platform will I touch first? Because as brands, right, we are reaching to the consumer from different channels, also with programmatic coming into the picture, we are trying to do the best without, irking them. But I sometimes also go on the customer side, and the best way is, probably one day I'll just take a digital detox and I'll see which are the use cases which I'll still end up. Quick commerce is one of those use cases. Today, for example, I normally listen to music while traveling to office. Today I just took no, I'm not going to listen to music, right? So I'm, as a brand, because we are doing so many things to so many customers, then there is a competition also doing, so many things. it was a very interesting study we did last year with Kantar. We just launched a brand film and we did that whole study. And a very interesting insight came out. It said that if you would have placed some other competition brand in that ad, the customer wouldn't have even realized it. And that was an eye-opener for me. I'm like, oh my God. It's like, it's the first brand ad and, the VTRs, everything, the numbers looked great. But that simple insight just, blew me. So while we know programmatic ways we are using to reach out, and like, rightly he said, it's like media first or a narrative first approach you want to take in today's, whole scenario. It also matters.
Samir, bring us home.
Thank you. So clearly, impressions are not going to end. They're just going to keep on increasing, and the supply is going to keep on increasing. Essentially, what you would want to do is improve the quality of media over time that you're buying, and hoping that they would result into what you want to do. So first is the baseline that you set for the quality of media. Then you start improving that. See, verify, and validate whether it is resulting to the desired outcome for you. And that's where attention comes in very handy, because everything else is an input, attention is an output, and that is why you advertise. And if you have a capability that allows you to directly optimize towards attention, ultimately that has been the reason why you are advertising, right? So we look at it that way. I think at DoubleVerify also what we are doing is building capabilities across where we move from good proxies to have to actually verifiable outputs in terms of what you can build capabilities towards optimization, which and attention and contextual are at the core of it right now.
Great, thank you so much. And I think we've covered quite a few points here, and I wish I was taking notes. That's a usual habit that I have, but I'm not. But we covered mindset, we covered creativity, we definitely covered measurement. I think one thing that we fail to realize is that each channel also carries a particular mindset. Usually, we're in the habit of taking one creative and plastering it across, right? That's the multi-channel approach. And Subrata, I want to start with you specifically because of the category that you belong to, right? How do you actually make consumers feel that they are heard or that they are seen or that they can actually emote with your communication that you have crafted and remember your brand? And what is the mindset? Do you actually put, do you attach mindset to the channel that you are looking at? For example, audio lets people forget where they are. It sets the mood. Digital out of home is something that keeps you company when you're outdoors. CTV is and OTT is something where you unwind, right? So you're in a more relaxed mood. How do you utilize these mindsets?
So my category is about tile, marble, mosaic. So it's a very triggered purchase. So if you ask me, people visiting my website, I know 99% they're buyers because nobody will offhand go to a tile shop and look for tiles or a tile website. So that's a very good point for me because I don't have, I would say, audiences who are on my site. So I at least have a very critical audience set with me. So that's the first point. How do I go about telling him a story or a narrative which will actually trigger his interest? I think a lot of stuff has to do with his pain points and knowledge settings. Because a lot of people in this category come in with lack of knowledge. So how do you enable his knowledge to understand what's right, what's wrong, and don't just sell the brand, but sell the story, by which it aids him to make a better decision on what he wants to buy. So knowledge setting is very, very important in this category, and this segment is very layered. We have an architect, we have a dealer store, we have a project buyer. There was somebody here today from the building category, real estate. So every buyer said, like from a purchase manager to site engineer to an architect, all have different narratives required at different points of time, which they consume for, I would say, some kind of value by which they could look at the story and understand the story better. And that syncs with the brand, because whatever I follow on the Instagram and stuff, I don't follow brands at all. I follow what is relevant for me. And I follow a story. I follow somebody's engagement level, and I read a book for that. So gone are the days where people will run after an ad for what the ad is. So you can shout as many times, but I'm not watching you at all. So I guess the world has changed, and companies have to change accordingly to build that. So that's where I see the difference.
And that's technically where context comes into play. Right now, Amruta, I want to bring you in here because your category is very interesting as well. How do you actually build context around
so our category is high consideration, non-linear journey of a customer, and a long purchase cycle. At that particular point, we don't know he's immediately, moving into a new home or renovating. each channel where the mindset is, we try to work, because we are trying to, for example, say CTV. He's in a laid back, the customer is in a laid back mode, I would like to show an aspirational home, like a brand content, a storytelling content where he's slightly alert but not that alert also. Coming to maybe a podcast, where a person is focused on a particular task and, he or she is listening, there may be a contextual ad, maybe in, something like a inspirational like content is going where I'm educating a customer slightly, what Hafele hinges do, very slightly, subtle there, to somewhere like a Pinterest. So now we are also going very aggressive with Pinterest. Now Pinterest is where the journey of a customer, a dream starts, he starts spinning. Now there, maybe I would like to be there. So different platforms, different mindsets, and that's where we are plugging different assets and the narrative from the single storytelling, like one brand shoot, one brand film we do. But basis the different platforms and the mindset, then we are trying to be and out of home. And out of home, we will normally do near our experience centers, Last year we did anamorphic also, just to see, how just a digital outdoor or a typical billboard or an anamorphic, what is like working. So again, depending on where the mindset is, then adapting that creative is where we are working on.
And Udita, travel is a very, very charismatic category because you have so much to love and look forward to, and then you also have bad experience, right? So channels technically will play that role for you.
Absolutely.
I'd love to hear from you.
And you're right. I think we have so many different objectives at the same point in time. So you have to look at a media mix which is very holistic, because you have to build a story, you have to build a narrative, you wanted to show beautiful pictures, talk about the destination, but then that's not always, most of the time, not going to bring you conversions. So how do you manage that entire aspect, right? And unlike Subrata, I think everyone who's visiting our website is not interested in buying. They just want to, they have that little intention and aspiration to travel, and how do we get them to, really lock the deal is important for us, right? So for us, it's based on various factors. You're right, the media mix is important, but it comes down and it's driven by the objective. Many a times it's driven by the creative and the narrative also that we want to kind of, talk about. But I think the objective becomes key for us, and that's the starting point. We start with the business objective. We start with identifying what is the right target audience for us. We typically use GWI data to do that. Once we've identified that, we then model it against different mediums to check and to index that particular audience, how is it indexed for a particular medium. And our key North Star is media outreach, so MMR is what we look at. That's how we build our entire plan. Of course, then there are inputs, some pluses and minuses to see that typically the category that we belong to, does the media mix have enough of a base of a video first approach, because that is important for us for storytelling. Or if it's purely conversions, then do I have what we call, what we call are basically scanners and kayaks of the world who will give us a lot of conversions, direct conversions on our websites, etc. So there's a mix, a healthy mix that we look at. One example that I want to cite, right, like because we talk a lot about moment of truth, and the moment of truth kind of depends on your objective. So we recently did a campaign last year where we used outdoor, my favorite medium, as a medium of communication. We actually targeted airports, rightly so, given the category that we belong to. And we were working around Mumbai and Delhi airport. And the whole objective was to get our brand to stand out. But what is the timing when the customer is actually thinking about the journey that they're just going to kind of start with another international brand or another international carrier. So we basically picked boarding gates at Delhi airport and just outside the airport in Mumbai, where we targeted every international airline that was taking off of competition. So it wasn't our brand, but other brands. And we actually targeted and custom-made, personalized the communication to that particular route that was going to take off. So if there was a flight going to Tokyo, you had communication which was about Tokyo, because we know the customer's already on that journey. So it was not through their path to purchase. The purchase has been done, but the objective there purely was to stand out in the minds of the customer, to stick in the minds of the customer. So that campaign actually bought us, and just 2 cities. We, typically went with a more hyper-localized targeting and then looked at social and PR to kind of talk about it. It bought us a brand lift or brand health score, 11-point incremental numbers. It was great. More importantly, it just won Cannes Silver. And I think it was a proud moment for all of us. And yeah, I think somewhere, I think just reaching out to your audience in that moment of truth, and it would be different whether your objective is based on purchase or your objective is based on standing out, really.
Perfect. Samir, any words of wisdom from you?
Yeah, just 2 points. One is I'm a fan for building creators for the mediums. When I started my career also, we were always told by the organization I used to work with, Radio Mirchi, I see a lot of colleagues out here, every sales pitch went through the lens of whether it will succeed on radio or not. So that is where it started, and I think that is true for all mediums. Every time you make a creative, you need to figure out whether it is going to work for my objective, for the platform, and for the audiences that are coming on that platform. And if that happens, your media matrix will supersede the plan numbers, right? That is one. Second is data beautifully allows you to create a feedback loop. Problem occurs when we want to make sure that the plan delivers. Take the feedback. If the plan is not delivering, there is something off. There is something off out there, and then if you try not to forcefully deliver the plan, what you would build is a great ROI over time in terms of building in seamless execution of the plan, and then taking feedback again from delivery, then ensuring that the plan is again made right. I think these 2 things are supremely critical in the time and age where we are dealing with a lot of platforms and a lot of data that is talking back to us.
I think thank you for making that point, Samir. It's incredible to see the kind of data that is flowing back to us. How do you actually make sense of it all, and how do you actually be agile in today's day and age? Simply because a lot of the campaigns that I see running, usually you might just get a campaign report at the end of it, and then is it effective, not effective, is something that comes into play. But thankfully, I think with today's technology, you can definitely plug those pieces as well. And I know what I'm going to search for post this, which is Cathay Pacific, Cannes Silver. So this one is open to all, and Samir, I think you can hold on to the mic because I'll start with you with this one. It's a Pandora's box. I'm sure everyone will have different answers to this one. But when you plan, what is ideal? Is it audience first, or is it platform first? I know you mentioned that at radio it was always, will it work on radio? But have things changed at this point?
Okay, so thankfully I don't have to plan. But I would say it should be audience first. And if I can probably try a different route here, can it be business impact first and then go to audience or platform? That's the route I think we need to take. Like I said at the beginning, see, most of the KPIs that we are dealing with are essentially results of or us figuring out how to deal with the tools that are available to us and their buying approaches. And at the end of the day, the metrics that they make available for us to take a decision on, right? However, whenever you're doing a campaign, the campaign objective is very, very different. It is very closely tied to your business objective, which is driving sales, driving revenue, driving repeat purchase. It could be anything, but it is much deeper than what the platform today allows you to do. So I think it's going to be a mix of things, because you may want to be audience first on a platform that just does not deliver. Then you cannot, then you will have to be platform first if it adds to any of your elements of the consumer journey. And one thing is very critical to understand, that the consumer journey is not a straight line anymore. They are moving from different stages of decision making throughout several times in a day. And yet you may want, that you're going to make a purchase today. For example, I have to renew my car insurance. It's going to happen in September. Every time I do a search, I get a call immediately from any of the insurance guys, and then I don't know who sells my number out there, but everyone wants to call, right? And I'm not going to make a purchase. So with the last click attribution, it will go to somebody else, and we don't know whether that person has done anything to to get that lead. What they have done well is somewhere reach me somewhere on the upper funnel, where I know that I can go in and buy over there hassle-free. While a lot of work to tell me about this insurance policy or that insurance policy has been done by the middlemen who have been calling me, who probably will not get any credit for that, right? So these are the different challenges that we are working with. But yeah, I think no answer lies either or. It is going to be a mix of it.
I mean, yeah, of course, when you say audience first, I think you should also be looking at where the audiences will be during their digital day and their digital journey at that point of time. And I think that also comes back to context. And Amruta, you mentioned something very interesting, that you are now using Pinterest, right? I'm sure, like when I was renovating my house, the mood board was primarily Pinterest. So you're doing the right thing. But that is a platform first initiative. Do you have any audience first initiatives, or how does that tie in, or how do you follow that audience across the internet?
So I have worked across BFSI sector, FMCD, and now I'm in building industry. And I think with each product, each sector, that approach for me individually has changed. In some places, basis the product, I have taken an audience first somewhere. In this sector where I'm right now dealing with, or I think it's not either or, it's and I would say. Audience and followed by platform, because for me it's a premium, it's a luxury brand. So the right audience I first need to mark, and then I go with the platforms to them. So that is how I do in the way it is.
Subrata, I mean, you mentioned that your website becomes your key platform.
It becomes very critical for us.
how do you follow, considering that you have two kinds of audiences? One is B2B and then B2C.
Absolutely. I think the first thing which I see which is missing today in the marketing place is the marketing people are not visiting the field. So nobody knows the consumer. You see some data and you're going to figure out all the analytics. So unless you go to the field at least more often and you understand the customer, you can do justice. You can't see data and figure out what's the world out there, because the sales guy is doing a pitch every day. He's seeing a different version of a customer. And the marketing guy, when he's in the field, he sees a different version of the customer to understand where is his world, how is the world evolving. And trust me, for the last few years, with so much data and so much CRM, so much Salesforce, and so much of fragmented medias, that time has been limited from all of us. Taking the question ahead of understanding the audience and the channel and where we want to market ourselves forward, to me, it's always audience first, because audience frames himself based on a media of usage, and based on the media he uses. So basically, on the frame of the media, he decides what he wants to do, therefore he's choosing a media. And every media would have its, I would say, its existence based on a specific cause. So you're using the media based on that similar cause, and you're trying to build your contextual, whatever you want to discover or you want to engage with. And how does a brand use that cause and be seamless with the media? Because I can't go to a newspaper and talk about something which is not relevant to current news. So I need to blend with current news and put my proposition forward. And I guess if you get the mix of both, it's fine. But to me, it's audience always first, because it's his behavior which defines the media.
Thank you so much. And Udita, if you are hiring for a field manager for travel, I'd be happy to apply, because I'll be taking flights all over the world. But yes, audience first or platform first?
I think I already addressed the question in my previous answer, but I think just for me, again, exactly like Samir, I think it's objective driven. I think as marketers, we have a bad name in the teams to say that we're an expense center, so we need to kind of keep proving ourselves. And I think objective first, audience, and then coming down to the media mix modeling. And of course, you may at certain points in time may choose to make changes in the platforms basis your past experiences, basis data, basis studies, basis results in the past, or sometimes even good deals. But I think that happens, but it will be audience first.
Perfect. I mean, talking of cost centers is very difficult to talk to CFOs about them, but that's where measurement comes in, right? And let's address the elephant in the room. I think the more channels that come into the mix, the more harder or the more difficult it is to measure all of them and make sense of the myriad of reports that your agency gives you or that you kind of bring together. And in that sense, I think I wanted to understand if you all have any quick tips for our audiences, or if you all have a solution for our audiences of how you all kind of look at measurement, or how they can look at measurement in a unified way, wherein they can not only make sense of it, but talk to their internal teams so that your budgets technically remain intact or grow, hopefully, and your next campaigns are more effective, and they kind of dictate that strategy as well. And Samir, we can start with you.
I can take that as a cue for a shameless plug-in here for DV. But that's our business, and we are the global leaders in terms of verification. And what we help our advertisers is create a baseline of media quality and then improve it over time by ensuring that your ads are fraud-free, viewable, in geography of your choice, and brand safe and suitable. We're clearly seeing a shift towards attention, and global markets have led that for sure. For us in India, I think supply is getting to that stage where it's still some time away, but it's getting to that stage where they will allow you to optimize towards deeper metrics than just media metrics. So that's happening. So attention and contextual are not only nice to haves anymore, it is something that you will probably, that will be critical to your marketing success. So that's something that is going to happen. At the end of it, you're dealing with a lot of signals when it comes to media quality. Every impression has millions of variables. So if you ever take out time to understand impressions, you will start looking at the log level data, and you'll realize there are so many impressions that have a bearing on whether your impression that you're going to buy today is likely to be a conversion or not. What it requires you to do is have machine fight that data, because you cannot, it's impossible for us to make sense of it. We are not mathematicians who are running the campaigns, right? And you can't do it at a scale that the AI can do it. That is where dynamic optimization comes in. Hope is that when you start optimizing the media quality using dynamic optimization, at the end of the day, it will deliver your business objective. But if it is not delivering your business objective, then you need to again refine and take that feedback, like I said last time, take that feedback into your planning and then refine what you're calling as the media quality. Maybe that needs to change for it to drive business impact. Measurement is, I think it's going to be mainstream. In India, it has taken slightly longer. There are global brands, advanced marketers who are using it across their spends. It has taken time, but it's going to be a very, very important part of your marketing strategy going forward, especially because the supply route is chaotic as of today. So I think that's where it comes in, and create a baseline for your media quality and improve it over time. Ensure that it is mapped back to your business objective, not just campaign KPIs. That's the route one needs to take.
Thank you, Samir. Remind me to take you to all my meetings. Amruta.
See, I started my career in BFSI, and I've seen so much data in the beginning of my career, so much of slicing, dicing, that after BFSI, when I've moved to other industries, I feel them they're very inferior in terms of data. So I feel that I sometimes, I overanalyze, so I have to stop myself. But see, data is very interesting because every person perceives data very differently, It's like plan versus delivered, and agency will say you have overachieved, But there will be something very interesting inside. For an example, we did CTV ads, and for decision maker for us, unfortunately in the sector we are, is a male. Okay. Now, for us, the hypothesis was a person will come home in the evening, will probably, switch on the TV and watch. But the consumption of the ad was peaking at afternoon. So, irrespective of delivered, under-delivered, now that piqued my interest, and I was like, okay, you know what? Then we realized the audience that we are targeting, he's at evening, but someone else in the home is watching in afternoon, and then we optimize the campaign. So data in every nuance it can play, it can help you in tweaking the campaign, and I think it just, I find it very interesting. I keep questioning why. Somewhere I need to also, probably stop, because sometimes it creates, a paralysis also of, you need to jump and take the next action, then see take the next action. So it actually helps, it enables an experimentation a lot. But like in this industry, a lot of data is, it's not very data clean. So right now we are into, he would relate to that, we are into the whole consolidation of the data, because for us it's like contractors is getting that customer, and ID is getting that customer, then somewhere in some franchisee shop that customer would have come. So that customer is in multiple places, and then we are right now just doing cleanup and creating one identity. So first we are starting with that mammoth task there. So I mean, like for each industry, data functions very differently, and how clean data it is, it makes more, intelligent way of, dealing or creating campaigns. And from the other lens also, I mean, like, it just is Pandora's box always for me.
Thank you so much. I mean, data is definitely like gold. You can't have enough at some point, but it also leads to analysis paralysis, and I've seen that more often than not with marketers as well. Subrata, happy to hear from you.
I think the biggest point what we have a problem with is the CFOs. Because the business can't be run on finance and matrix of objectives of ROIs, and marketings cannot deliver on numbers. Marketing is a process. So if I make a creative narrative today, maybe after 3 years you'll make money. Doesn't mean that creative narrative today is not relevant, because you will look at the target based on a time span. I got this much return. So what you look in the data is, one, you can measure what you're doing, but you can't measure everything. Customers are irrational. You can measure everything which is rational via data. But why does a customer buy a car? I just understood, like, you got 10,000 rational decisions, one emotional decision, he bought a car. And so that's not something which you can trigger. But what you can do is you can build amazing stories, amazing creative narratives, which can make the customer believe that you got something which others don't, or you got something which I love. So how do you do all that is where marketing comes in. And I think we're doing less of that going forward, because we're totally into that whole budgeting game. What have I spent? How much have I got? And where am I? And how much am I going to get tomorrow? And you go back to that whole tribe and looking at all the small little matrices. But what do you get at the end of the day? Maybe 10 more likes, but does that like convert to a customer? Who knows? You don't have a measurable tool to do that. All you have is some data underlying a point and a probability to state it's happening. But there are multiple other stuff. The supply didn't happen on time, something else crashed. You don't know. So just getting that act together of working on how you build a better value proposition, and have a lovely CFO out there who you can convince that everything cannot be data-led. Give us some time, some money, extra money where you can build a brand. I think that's where the problems lie, and most companies struggle with that. At least I am.
Thank you, Subrata. I think if you should start a podcast. Definitely when I'm stuck in traffic, I'll listen to you. Please bring us home, Udita.
I think pretty much similar thoughts. I think the important thing is to have a healthy balance. But I will not deny the fact that, because we're talking about media mix here, right? There is a challenge with getting one sort of unified data to be able to understand that how is it that my different media channels and media mix is performing. And of course, with digital, I think with so much overexposure and India being called a viewing farm, we cannot run away from that. And I think, like, I can give an example. A few years back, we ran a small ticket campaign to just kind of create some visibility for our logistics business, the cargo business that we have. And like most marketers, right, we do simple things like placement report, this, that. Everything was just gaming websites. And I'm talking to like logistics heads, and I'm just like, oh my God. And like the numbers showed like incremental numbers and etc. And I'm just like sitting with my team, we're all looking at each other aghast. But I think that's when we need a product like Samir's to like be able to, I think, really adopt that and make that as a part of our systems and integration. I think that's equally important while we do the storytelling, narrative, etc. Because eventually we are spending money. So I think that's important. But we haven't yet, as a brand, gotten there. To be honest, I think it's a work in progress conversation for us.
Perfect. I think I couldn't have asked for a better answer or for a better panel. Thank you so much, everyone. I think.
Make one point.
Yeah, of course, brother. Please.
I would say we have a 2011 data census as a population census. That's the only basic demographic data we have. And there's nothing after that which gives us any essence of numbers. There's something called UPI, which is very strong today. Globally in America, they use product linkages as their primary data source. So how they use data is not population data, they use product linkages to understand consumer via VAS. We have today UPI, which has reached, I would say, a level of customers, but we don't have a unified by which you can data of all the product linkage data, which we can use very successfully. And I don't need consumer-led data. I can get demographics of cross-product linkages. And that is a very useful data which is lying in the digital source, and it's not universally applicable in India yet. So that's something I would want the government of Samir to get up.
Perfect. I'm glad you mentioned that, and shameless plug for me as well. I think the trade desk can actually give you deterministic data signals based on purchases. Right? So thank you very much. And please let us have a big hand for our panelists. I think a very enlightening session. Thank you so much for your time and for the insights.
Thank you, everyone. I would request all the panelists to please be on stage, and Mayank Sharma from DigiTool to please hand over the token of appreciation. Thank you, everyone. Now, before we move forward, we have a short video from our presenting sponsor, the Trade Desk.
At the Trade Desk, we connect the channels where your customers are, so you can reach them the right number of times across touchpoints seamlessly. Every media channel that matters, one advertising platform. The Trade Desk. At the Trade Desk,
All right, we have come to the end of the evening. First of all, please give a huge round of applause for yourself for being such a lovely audience. As we conclude today's thought-provoking sessions, let's take a moment to celebrate the exchange of bold ideas, fresh perspectives, and meaningful insights. A heartfelt thank you to our presenting partner, the Trade Desk, for championing this platform and driving the conversation forward. We would also like to thank DigiTool, our gifting partner, for adding a special touch to today's experience. And cocktails are now being served, followed by dinner. We invite you to continue the conversation, forge new connections, and unwind in great company. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful evening ahead.